Hello my fellow readers. Today I'm going to be talking about Beastars. Finally. I finished it a little while ago and I've been meaning to review it, and I got to the end of the year and it was time to do all my end of year things, beginning of the year things, what have you. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to talk about this yet. Essentially, Beastars follows Legoshi, who is a gray wolf in high school, and he's also a crew member of the drama club. And I guess not really a rewind, but to get to the main plot of the first arc of it, there is a drama club member, Tam, who is brutally murdered at the start of the series, and he was an herbivore and was devoured by a carnivore, and so it opens with kind of a mystery of who killed Tam and what are they going to do about it. And of course, Legoshi knew him, and so he kind of gets caught up in trying to find out who the murderer was. At the same time, he also meets a rabbit, Haru, and finds himself very attracted to this rabbit, and it sets up a dynamic of interrelations between carnivores and herbivores. Is it something that can happen? Is it too dangerous? Yada yada, lots of questions. And there is a third party in this who is Louis, and he's a red deer, and Louis is also a lead. Well, he's not only is he the class president, something like that, and he's also a lead actor for the drama club. So both Legoshi and Louis come in from the drama club. They're all connected. And yeah, I guess going in the first arc, you're really looking at the murder and the brutality of what happened and trying to solve the murder. But it very quickly expands into the wider world and the whole relations between carnivores and herbivores, which also I could have a lot to say there. I won't, but I don't know that really those terms are the correct ones, because it's more like predator animals versus prey animals, but also there are some prey animals that also are omnivorous. So it's always a little weird to me, they're painted as just the weak herbivores, but really a lot of the scavenger animals are not herbivores. They are omnivores. They'll eat anything. But I won't get into that. I'm just saying that throws a little bit of a mix into this that they never really deal with here. But yeah, going into the greater scheme, it's just the relationships between herbivores and carnivores. There's a wider political net and world that's happening where there's some corruption. There is a whole black market that exists where carnivores are still eating herbivores, even though they were supposed to come to an accord where they're not doing that. It's still happening, and there's especially the big black market that exists, and so it's dealing with that. There are mobs and relations between them and who's going to have the hierarchy and the rule there, and we see all of these things through the lens of either Louis or Legoshi. Occasionally Haru, but she is just kind of a character that but she's always there, but her perspective isn't always one that's highly dealt with. And then there are some other characters that will get, their view on life too. But essentially, I would say the main two are Legoshi and Louis, and Legoshi is the main one that we're seeing everything through. And it is fascinating. It's interesting to apply their world and sociology to our world and what happens even in our world, but different levels of things. It's not about eating the other people, but it can be using people, the manipulation, the black market, what happens there, and the whole level of valuing people. It can be paralleled and seen that way. And also how race relations in general, and how is that seen and how are things viewed? There's a lot of different parallels to our actual society that exists, and you can see it here, even though it's a little bit different. You do get to solve Tam's murder, but it really ends up I don't want to say it's a minor plot because like major things happen due to that plot, but at the same time, the overarching plot or overarching, that's another one of those words that I always, depends on how I'm saying it, like if I'm saying it the British way or the American way. Anyway, too much British influence. That there's a bigger plot line that occurs, and really the main one is the relations between herbivores and carnivores, and also what can occur when the two mix. And it's fascinating. I think it's a series with a lot of bite and depth. I definitely would say that. It wraps up in, what was it, 22 or 23? I think it was 22 volumes. I don't think it was 23. I'm pretty sure it was 22 volumes. So it's longer, but also a very doable, readable series. It's not going on and on. It's not like a Naruto or anything like that. There is a solid, conclusive story that happens throughout all of those volumes. It makes a lot of sense reading it that way, and I think it comes to a satisfying end with that. Like, there obviously could be more stories. There is the stories that are set in the same, like, universe, but they're their own things as well. There's another whole set of stories, which is it Beast Complex, I think is the name. I haven't read that one, but if you like that kind of Beast world, you can go on to that. I don't know. All I do know is I very much enjoyed this. I think it was just a fascinating look. I like a lot of the questions and the issues that Legoshi himself asks and deals with, and also struggles with, knowing, I guess, his own inner demons, and him always being caught in this world where he loves and is attracted to Haru, but at the same time knows that he could really also want to devour her. It sets up an interesting tale. Like, there's a fine line between love and wanting to eat you. So, I don't know, I found it fascinating. I love the relationship that develops between Legoshi and Louis. I think that is a main central element to the whole plot, and they really have to be strong characters in order to make that whole plot work as well throughout the length of the series. And there are other characters that we'll see. I didn't note that in when I was beginning talking about this, but the title Beastars comes from the fact that there are beasts that are, I guess, singled out and identified as like the Beast Star, and they serve as like a representative for the way that that the beings, I guess the animals should be. They can help police things, they can help set out missions and ideals, and be just a big representative to the ideal. And so that is kind of another part in the background that you see from the beginning, where Louis in particular is sort of being set up to be the next Beast Star, and then how that, I guess, pressure and what that role means impacts like his storyline in particular, but also Legoshi to another point. And yeah, have I said all of the things that I want to say? Probably not. There is definitely a lot of great characters in here. I particularly like toward the back end of the series, there is Legoshi's, he's not really a roommate, but he lives in the same building, and he is a seal or a sea lion, I don't remember which. And just his conversation, because like he sees the world differently than Legoshi. Like, he has this, and again, I think this goes to, like, as I was saying before, characters that don't necessarily fit into the herbivore / carnivore dichotomy. Like, as a seal will both eat the meat of fish, but also live a prey life because they can easily be eaten by polar bears. And so I think like that character really sets like kind of this in-between zone, and has a very, I want to say zen-like because that sounds like, but I think it is set up to be kind of zen-like, but just has like this deeper understanding of life and death, and that it's something that can happen, and is more willing to like deal with that prospect. Is that all? I would just say, like, stick with it. There's so many, like, characters. There's a lot of interplay, a lot of questions. I liked it. I would say this one's worth it. It has a very successful anime that for the life of me I did not want to like, because I'm not a super fan of that style of, like, 3D animation. Because if I'm not mistaken, they are, I think they use models and they, like, mocap that, and it's all like 3D. But I came to really love it, so don't jump on me about it. I'm not a huge fan of that animation style. If I'm being honest, I'm not a huge fan of 3D animation in general. I actually love 2D animation more, but that's a whole, like, art. It's a whole other conversation that if you're into art, it might be interesting, but if you're not, it might not be. But I've always enjoyed, like, 2D art. I love a lot of the movies and the shows, don't get me wrong. It's just, I don't know, something about the style itself. I'm a 2D person. I like it. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'll just say I didn't want to like this series. I fell in love with the series. It actually made me want to read the manga. I still have the final part of season 3 to watch. Not a huge fan of season 3. I think that they had to alter too much and chop too much up in order to condense it to fit into the episode rate. It's still good, it still tells the story, but I noticed, like, right from the first couple of episodes how much they were changing. Not a huge fan of that, but in general the story remains, so I'm fine with it. But I think if you want, like, the fuller layout of the story, just stick with the manga, or watch the anime but read the manga. I think you'll get a better idea of what the whole story is like. But yeah, it's one I would recommend for both. I loved the first 2 seasons, though. I thought they were a very faithful, very great adaptation of the manga. I just wish that they had given, like, the final season actually 2 seasons so that it could have properly fleshed out the story the way that the manga did. Like, just tell it. Anyway, none of that matters because it's over and done with, and like I said, it's fine. I don't love it as much as the first 2 seasons. You can let me know what you think. Give Beastars a chance if you haven't read it. It's well worth it. I enjoyed it very much. That is it for this video. Until next time, bye.